Hello again, feral friends and fellow nature nerds, and thank you for tuning in to this Dirt Dispatch number 33. I'm your host, Tim the Nature Nerd O'Hara. So here at Dispatches HQ, for a lot of the year, the prevailing colors are kind of browns and tans. It's a semi-arid climate after all, which means that we average less than 15 inches of precipitation per year. And while afternoon thunderstorms are not uncommon this time of year, and they can be pretty intense, they're often scattered and fairly brief. So when you combine that with low humidity and compacted soil, even when the rain comes down pretty hard, it either runs off quickly because it's coming down too fast to actually soak into the ground, or it evaporates. Now that said, this time of year we do have an abundance of wildflowers, and that's what I want to tell you about today. Some of the wildflowers that are in bloom here around Dispatches HQ. Now, a disclaimer before I get started. I'm going to talk about how some of these plants were historically used, and that's not an endorsement of the effectiveness of these uses or an encouragement to try it yourself. So basically what I'm saying is it's not my fault if you go out and do something dumb and you end up poisoning yourself, okay? Okay. So one of the most obvious flowers blooming around here right now is a plant called rough prickle poppy. Prickle poppies can grow 3 to 5 feet tall with flowers that can be up to 4 inches wide. The flowers are white and they have 6 large petals surrounding a ring of yellow stamen. But everything else about prickle poppies kind of looks like the unholy union between a poppy and a thistle. The stem is covered in bristles, and the leaves are divided into sharp, tooth-like lobes that end in sharp spines. Even the seed pods are covered in spines. Prickle poppies also contain a poisonous latex sap. I mean, other than that, they're lovely. And Native Americans did use them medicinally, mostly externally. Salves were made from the crushed seeds and were applied to boils, burns, or other open wounds, and even used to treat eye infections. The salve was also applied to the scalp to get rid of lice. The root of the prickle poppy was heated and applied to toothaches. Roasted and crushed seeds were used as an emetic, meaning it makes you puke because, sometimes you just need to vomit. The Tepehuan, a group of indigenous people in Mexico, gathered and crushed the leaves and stems of prickle poppy and used it as a fish stupefying agent. I guess it disoriented the fish and made them easier to catch. Now, a much more gentle-looking flower common around here is the great blanket flower. These perennials grow up to 3 feet tall and are actually widespread across North America. They have lance-shaped leaves near the base with several erect naked stems holding the flowers. And the flowers are nothing if not eye-catching. Each flower head has a brown or reddish-purple center surrounded by a fringe of 1/2 inch to 1.25 inch long yellow petals with dark bases. Some Native American tribes used blanket flowers also to treat wounds and fevers. But there are a lot of other yellow flowers around here. There's little sunflower, a bright yellow perennial herb and member of the sunflower family, hence the name. Sulfur buckwheat, a low-growing perennial with pale yellow flowers that's an important larval host for several species of butterflies. We also have the lovely but invasive Balkan toadflax, a relative of snapdragons, so it has yellow flowers that have a snapdragon-esque shape. And then the stemless four-nerved daisy. Stemless four-nerved daisies are really interesting. They're fairly low-growing, and they have bright yellow flowers. And while the flowers are at the end of a stalk, apparently, botanically speaking, it's not technically a stem. So what's the difference between a stem and a stalk, you ask? Well, the answer is not very much. A stem is a primary part of a plant that provides support and transports water and nutrients. And then the stem has nodes where leaves and flowers connect to it. A stalk can be the stem itself, but it's often just specifically for supporting other structures. In the case of this daisy, it's the flower. The stalk then connects the flower to the stem. So I guess, as I understand it, all stems can be stalks, but not all stalks can be stems. But anyways, that's where they're called the stemless four-nerved daisy. But Man, I gotta say, botanists are really getting into the, well, actually territory with this one. But stems and stalks aside, this plant was used as a medicinal plant. Native Hopi people used a poultice of the plant to treat hip and back pain in pregnant women and to make a stimulating drink. I wonder what the caffeine content of stemless four-nerve daisy tea is. But it's not all just white and yellow out there. We also have purple. Upright blue beard tongue is, like the Balkan toadflax, related to snapdragons, but beard tongue is a native species. That said, beard tongue's purple flowers also have a similar shape to snapdragons, and it's a host plant for caterpillars of checker spot butterflies. Wild bergamot, also known as bee balm, is also in bloom right now. Wild bergamot is as interesting as it is beautiful. It's a member of the mint family, and it grows from slender creeping rhizomes, so it commonly occurs in large clumps. Wild bergamot can grow up to 3 feet tall, and it has compact purple flower clusters at the end of branches. Now these clusters kind of look like golf ball-sized flowers with many petals. Think similar to thistles, but it's actually a cluster of anywhere from 20 to 50 individual flowers. Now, wild bergamot has a lot of uses. It's what's called a honey plant, used by a variety of pollinators, including bees, hummingbirds, butterflies, and moths. It also has many medicinal uses and was important to many Native American people. Most commonly, it was made into a tea to treat colds and also mouth and throat infections. And in this case, I can say that it probably worked. Wild bergamot is the natural source of the antiseptic thymol, the primary active ingredient in many commercial mouthwashes. The Blackfoot people, recognizing the bergamot's strong antiseptic action, used poultices of the plant to treat skin infections and minor wounds. It was even used to treat excess flatulence. One other purple flower we have around here is Nebraska lupine. Now, Nebraska lupine is a legume, and although it's unrelated to toadflax or beard tongue, the flower is still somewhat similarly shaped. Now, here's the interesting thing about Nebraska lupine. Many animals, elk, deer, pronghorn, small mammals, and birds, eat lupine. For pocket gophers, it's an important source of nutrition in the late spring, but it is toxic to domestic livestock. It's known to cause congenital deformities in cattle and can poison adults if it's consumed in large enough quantities. Okay, one last flower that I want to tell you about, although there are many more in bloom than what I've covered here. But this one is one of my personal favorites. It's called the scarlet globe mallow. Scarlet globe mallows only grow about a foot tall, 30 centimeters. And they have reddish-orange, inch-wide, broad-petaled flowers blooming in terminal clusters. They throw some orange into the white-yellow-purple mix, although the flowers do have a bright yellow center. From these flowers, they produce a dry fruit, quote-unquote, called a schizocarp, which breaks into roughly 10 or more seed segments after it matures. Like bergamot, though, it also spreads through rhizomes, and it spreads fairly quickly this way, making it a good native plant to use as ground cover to prevent erosion. But it was also used medicinally by native people. Globe mallow was ground up or mashed up into a mixture and applied to wounds and burns as a cooling agent. All right, I'm going to shut up now about wildflowers so you can go outside and appreciate whatever wildflowers might be blooming in your area. If you want to support the podcast, here's some ways to do that. Become a patron. Subscriptions start at just $5 a month. And with 3 paid months, you get some awesome Dispatches from the Forest merch. You can find all the details at patreon.com/dispatchesfromtheforest. You can donate using PayPal and my email address, dispatchesfromtheforest@gmail.com. And you can also use that email address to send me any questions, comments, or requests for future episodes. You can donate using the Cash App and the hashtag ForestNerd. If you prefer to just send a check, hey, who am I to stop you? Send me an email. I'll let you know what my mailing address is. Check out the merch store at cafepress.com/shop/dispatchesfromtheforest. Then click on products and find something you like. Finally, you can follow Dispatches from the Forest on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube. I'm your host, Tim the Nature Nerd O'Hara, reminding you to go outside and get dirty. Dirt Dispatches is a production of Dispatches from the Forest and may not be used or rebroadcast whole or in part without express written permission.